Hey, welcome back to another episode of the OWNR OPS Podcast, where we talk all things, tips, tricks, strategies for growing local service businesses. I'm your host, Austin Gray, and in this episode, we have Sam Tyler joining me. He is the owner of FireGuard and Tyler Snow Solutions down in the Ouray, Colorado area. The guy works all day and all night at the fire department when he's on shift, and we recorded this episode actually when he came out of the firehouse. He had been up all night, so I'm really thankful that he still kept his time and recorded this episode. But the way I met Sam is he reached out to me at the beginning of this summer. He asked for help starting a fire mitigation business, which is a service we offer here at Bear Claw. I answered some of his initial questions and he just took it and ran with it 100 miles an hour. If you're considering bringing on snow services, this is going to be the episode for you. We also talk a bit about the fire mitigation business and how he got started in that. I'm going to stop right here and we'll jump into a little plug about land service marketers. If you are a land clearing, excavation, grading, or snow removal contractor, check out landservicemarketers.com. LSM is the same growth agency I've used to grow Bear Claw Land Services from zero to over 7 figures of revenue. We've created a seamless process for owner operators to upload photos and videos from the field, and LSM will do all the heavy lifting for you on the back end. They'll do all the editing, all of the publishing, all the social media management, and they'll run your paid ads to bring you more leads so that you can close more high-ticket jobs. Check out landservicemarketers.com. Welcome back to another episode of the OWNR OPS Podcast. I have Sam Tyler on from FireGuard over in Telluride area of Colorado. He also owns Tyler Snow Solutions, and he's also a firefighter, and he just got off shift. Welcome to the show, Sam. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Austin. Thanks for everything. Kind of from the ground up of FireGuard, you've kind of been there, and so I appreciate that.
Well, it's been exciting to watch you grow. I remember whenever you reached out to me and you were looking at getting into the fire mitigation work, kind of the land clearing side of things after snow, I immediately knew that you were somebody who was just going to go 0 to 100 because of how fast you took action. So I want to jump into the business models of both. And I'd like to start with snow because you started snow on your own. You built that up to your 180 or 200 accounts. Is that right?
Yeah, just about.
When did you start that business?
And so really it was kind of side pocket money for a while. When I was, just graduated high school, I took on my neighbors, only shoveling clients, people who called. It was never, sign up for seasonal contracts. It was, hey, when it snows, I'll be there. I'll clear it, and I'll make $600 a day. Just shoveling my neighbors, sidewalks and stuff. My counts grew and grew and grew. When I came back from college, from Texas, I decided to hit it kind of full swing, kind of develop that same idea into something that would actually bring me cash flow. And so that's when I started, putting my phone number out there, created a website and everything else. And slowly but surely, it's developed into something a little more positive, a little bigger, that's tangible, and I can hire employees and start to grow the business. And so now we're up to about 170 something clients, and that's in a span of really 3 years, but I've been doing it for a while, kind of off and on throughout college and high school and stuff.
So you started with shoveling.
Yep. Basic shoveling.
At what point do you buy your first truck?
I did wildland firefighting for a summer season. And so I had some money piled away. I spent $6,000 on my first ATV with a snowplow on it. So what that did is it turned, a whole day worth of work into 3 hours worth of work. And so now I could take in more and more clients slowly but surely. And that's when I started expanding and I started growing. And then I think within the first year that I took it seriously, I think I probably grew that to 30, 40, 50 clients. That next season is when I had put enough money away to buy that first truck with a snowplow. And so then I had 2 routes that I was working. I had the truck route, which I would hire subcontractors for, and then I had the ATV route, which most of the time I would end up doing.
But in the beginning, whenever you were starting, you were doing all the shoveling, and then you did all the work with the ATV.
Oh yeah, I was out there from 5:30 to 6 o'clock at night. They were all mine. I had nobody to help, and so it was brutal. But the money was there to where I was motivated enough to get out and hustle and do it.
How old were you at this point? Whenever you started taking it serious?
20.
Okay, so talk us through the economics of this. Like, what is an average? Like, are you shoveling sidewalks? Or are you shoveling like entryways to homes?
Yeah, kind of really, really anything that the customer wants. Now, we're completely full service from snow blowing driveways to, the basics, tiny sidewalks. Really, the customer will come to us and say, hey, look, the city is on us about clearing the sidewalks, after 2 inches. I need somebody that's reliable. I need somebody that will, show up every time and take care of us. And so they'll pay us, $40, or whatever it is. Our minimum's normally around 30, as long as it's in the path of other clients. It'll start, we started the minimum $30. We bill a monthly fee. It's kind of like a subscription fee. So it's $25 a month on top of whatever snow removal we do. So we're getting $25 a month per client, plus whatever snow removal we do that month. This year, we kind of switched game plans and we're doing seasonal bids with the option to do the per push. But the seasonal bids are really nice because you get that money up front, number one, and nobody can burn you. And then number two, it's 10 times less of a headache with paperwork, trying to, reach out to customers halfway through the season. They want to know, how many times it snowed. I'm not at my property. Can you take care of this, this, and this? And so just having that all right up front at the very beginning, I think that's going to help us a lot on the backside, at least for me in my paperwork side. But yeah, and then growing, $25 a month, client to client to client. Now we're at 170 something, and so now no matter if it snows or doesn't snow, we at least have that base that I can survive on. Keep my equipment up and running, keep my guys happy, keep my insurance happy, everything else. Yeah, does that answer?
Yeah, it does. And the reason I'm curious in this is because we are jumping into snow at Bear Claw here, and I've been really interested in. Well, right now, millennials are moving into the workforce. Traditionally, snow has been done by a baby boomer service provider. And those people are moving into retirement age. So right now we're seeing, millennials and then Gen Z come into the workforce. The interesting piece is all these tech companies are hiring people in the millennial and Gen Z workforce and setting these expectations of, hey, you can work remotely from anywhere in the world and you get all these cush benefits. And so it's like to convince somebody to come plow snow and wake up at 3 a.m, or sit behind a computer and wake up at 9 or 8:30 in the morning, start work at 9, and then have unlimited paid time off. Like those are that's kind of what we're dealing with in today's day and age. So I've thought about this a lot. Like, how do you build an attractive business model to, one, attract the next generation of people who will be fulfilling the services and paying them a fair wage to do so? And then two, how do you like you hit the nail on the head there. Like, there is so much paperwork on this per push snowplow contract style. So how do you change the rhetoric here as we move into a new generation of snowplowing? And that's where my head has been living for like the past 18 months as I think about building a snowplow business. So that's a little side tangent, but right now for our listeners, can you tell us the different styles of contracts currently? Like, you have per push, you mentioned seasonal contract, and then can you tell us the difference between those?
Yeah. So essentially what I've done is I've broken down the previous year's contract. So I say, hey, I'll plow, this bank for $350 per push. There's no salting. We don't do salting at all. That's $350 per push plus our $25 fee, right? You can either select the per push. And so I'm going to come out, I'm going to start billing next month in November. So right off the bat, you're going to give me that $25. And then say it snows 3 times. We're taking that, $700, $1,050, and we're saying, okay, at the end of this month, like, that's what you're going to owe us. The seasonal contract, which helps alleviate all of those emails sent and all of those QuickBooks that I have to write through and delegate. It'll say, I'm going to average that we're going to get anywhere from 16 to 22 snows. So I'm going to go 18 snows. I'm going to do that $350 times 18 plus that 125. And so that way they're looking at this and going, okay, I won't have to send an email. I can properly, as far as financing go, especially with things like bank, that they like to know right up front, how much is this going to cost? How much can I allocate to snow removal for the whole season. And so that's something that I found, not so much homeowners, because it's a lot of money up front for some people, but with these bigger HOAs and stuff, they like knowing exactly how much it's going to be right off the gate. And so that's kind of the two options that I have right now. And it seems in my contract right up front, I give them the option to do either. It seems like the majority of people right now this year are going with the seasonal push. I think that they agree. On their side, it's also a lot of paperwork, and so I think they're switching to the seasonal rates. It's also a little bit discounted as well.
Well, and it's also like we've been in this subscription economy, right? Like
Right.
people are used to paying a monthly fee for something, and snow is unpredictable. Yet at the same time, if you're a homeowner, I mean, and I even look at this as like my home and my driveway. Like if somebody said, hey, that's X amount per month, and I'm going to be here every day that it snows, and I will have it pushed within, what is your time span? Is it within 24 hours of snowfall stopping?
Yeah, tentatively. We never obviously go that far without plowing, but yeah, that's in the contract.
So in my mind as a homeowner, I'm like, well, if I can have my driveway removed, plowed within 24 hours of when it snows, and I know it's X amount per month, and I don't have to deal with the emails back and forth with a contractor, it's
Right.
a way better deal for me as a customer,
Right.
in my opinion. And I think as millennials move more into the customer base and the homeowner stage,
Yep.
like that's the lifestyle we all live. I don't
Exactly.
think any customers in the future, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I just don't believe that any of the current millennial base, as they grow older, I don't think that they're going to want to deal with 3 emails a week from a contractor with an invoice that
No.
they have to pay each time. It's like, dude,
Mm.
just put me on auto pay and tell me what I'm going to pay per month and plow my snow.
Exactly. Something easy, simple, something you don't have to think about. It's done. It's done. You sign the paperwork. It's done.
For sure. Okay, I'm
Exactly.
glad to hear that you are validating that, because this is where my head has been living, and I'm interested to see how long it's transitioning. So, keep me in the loop on what you're hearing from your customers there. But it sounds like they're moving to seasonal, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Also, as well as the monthly fee goes, when I started doing this, it was an idea from my older brother who has a guiding service for snow and via ferratas and stuff. They would just hire other people, right? And so that there's no benefit that the customer would be getting from this $25 fee. And I definitely got lashback, and they were like, "Well, why would I pay an additional $25? I could just hire the next guy, to do this." If you sell the idea that they're signing up for something that allocates them more resources and will get that done a lot faster, then they're much more driven to sign up for that $25 fee. That's really just that's all sales, because there really is no benefit of having the $25 fee. And that doesn't make it, any different from somebody who doesn't pay that fee, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is just like the reason you charge a $25 fee is because you're running a tight ship, and you are going to make sure that there's someone there with the right equipment at the right time to plow their driveway to make sure that the service is fulfilled. Whereas somebody that they could hire off the street may just be, chucking a truck, and he's been boozing all night the night before,
Yep.
and he may show up hungover one day, and you just might not get your driveway plowed. But yeah, you'll save your
Exactly.
$25, but you might have several times where you don't get your driveway plowed.
Exactly. No, and the customer, they like it.
Okay, so you buy your first truck. How much was that first truck with the plow?
So I got a 2006 6.0 with 30,000 miles on it with a plow for $9,000.
The 6.0 diesel?
6.0 diesel with
That-
30,000 miles on it.
That's incredible. Where'd you find that?
Nuts. It was a guy, he had it parked in town here. He got out of the snow removal business. He hated the business. He had no idea what he was doing. And he was like, you know what, I'm getting out. Like, hey, do you want to buy this? And he actually approached me. I had another business across the street from him. And I was eyeing it and eyeing it and eyeing it. And then one day he walked up and he was talking about it. And so I shot him an offer, and he took it. So that was a great purchase.
The old 6.0, huh? Is it still
Yes.
running?
Scary. Yeah, scary, but
But worth the $9,000 bet. Huh?
absolutely.
Yeah. Shoot, the plow, depending on what plow was on there, it might have been worth that, right?
It was a 2-year-old Boss.
Wow. So talk us through that. Is somebody who's interested in getting in the snowplow business, but who has never looked into pricing? Like what's an average plow cost?
Too much, way too much. You're looking at, depending on which plow, you got V plows, straight blades, the extension plows, but you're looking anywhere from 12 to 15 grand for a base new snowplow, which 5 years ago, right before COVID and the pandemic and everything, you could get a brand new snowplow for 6-8 grand. But now, I mean, everything is just, it's expensive. It's a really expensive game to get into, but the rewards are there. And so as long as you trust the investment, it'll work out, as well as service. I mean, service on those things, they're not super difficult to work on, but I like outsourcing most of the service. And so that's, $1,000 a year just to replace parts and new fluids and everything else. And so they're expensive. That's also really hard on the truck too.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So do you have a bare minimum as far as like what type of truck that you will put a snowplow on?
250s is kind of what you need. There's some driveways and stuff that you can get away with a Jeep, but they have to be really tight, and you need to be able to turn around on a dime. And so a lot of people around here, they run the smaller Jeeps or whatever else they put them on. But I think that the 250, you want something heavy enough to be able to push snow, reliable enough to keep it running, and then as short as you can possibly get it. And so those huge crew cabs with 8-foot beds, and then you get the spreader sticking out the back. I mean, that's 8-point turn in any driveway, and slowly but surely that'll add up, and it'll start to kill you as far as productivity and being efficient the day of a snow.
So 250 minimum, 3/4 ton truck for any brand. Are you brand agnostic, or are you a Ford guy?
Definitely not. I'm a Ford guy because I haven't bought any other truck. Those are the couple points as far as trucks.
Short bed.
Yep.
Single cab or extended cab?
Yep. Single cab even better.
Single cab even better.
Flatbed even better.
Because of the weight?
Because of the weight, number one, and then just visibility. You can see exactly where you are at all times. And so those tight driveways, it gets really tight fast. And so being able to see, almost exactly where your hitch is and everything else, that helps. It helps a lot.
And then do you have a preference, gas or diesel?
Diesel's nice because of the weight. They're more expensive to maintain. If they break, they're a lot harder to fix. And then they don't love the cold weather. And so obviously you have to plug them in and kind of keep them warm. But I have 2 gas trucks and 3 diesels that do snow removal. So kind of across the board.
And what year models are those, and what engines? Do you know?
The 250 5.4. Was that Ford's 250? It's older. It's a 2008. And then I have a V10, which I was really scared about, but it's a super clean truck. Grandpa owned it. And so I have a V10, and then I have 2 6.0s and a 6.7.
And the 6.0s are still running fine for you?
Yeah, they have their problems. The one with 30,000 miles now has like 40,000 miles, and that thing kills it. The big 450, that thing struggles a little bit. It's manual, so it gets burnt up.
And then how about flatbed is ideal? What if you have just a short box on it? What are you doing for weight?
Just sandbags. The thing is with sandbags, they definitely make up for multiple uses. You can build a road with sandbags. You can get out of pretty much everything. If you tear open a sandbag, try to get traction. And so that's kind of multi-use. I put salt in the back of my trucks. You just got to be really careful doing that, because once you start opening up salt, over a whole winter season, you're going to start getting holes in your bed, and it'll rust right through them. So I'm putting the toolbox as close to the tailgate as I can. Some dudes do it right over the axle, which is another fine idea. My thinking behind it is I want to cancel out the weight of the plow. Weight in the front's good, but if you don't have any weight in the back, your 4-wheel drive is just taking a beating, on your front axle and hubs. And so I try to kind of cancel out the weight and try to make it, as even as possible.
Stryker Digital specializes in SEO services specifically for local service businesses. Bodie and Andy, the 2 co-founders, have helped me get Bear Claw Land Services to the #1 search result on Google inside my state for my specific search term. If you want to learn more, visit strykerdigital.com. That's STRYKER-digital.com.
All right, let's talk snowplow estimating. How do you even start with that?
So this one's tough. There's no algorithm. I'm on all these Facebook groups, and there's these guys, that have an algorithm for everything, which is great. It's super hard to get 2 properties that are similar enough to use the same pricing system. And so on sidewalk jobs, I base the price off of how close are you to my next property. If you butt right up to it and we could do one clean sweep in 30 seconds, with an ATV or a tractor, then I'm doing a little cheaper rate. If we have to go across town, the access is horrible. If you're just doing your sidewalk and you're kind of out of the way, that price, it might range up to the $50 or $60 versus the easy sidewalk that might be $40. And so most of my pricing that's sidewalk and small stuff is just by eyesight. It's just, I'm doing the neighbors for $35. Why don't we do yours for $30? Small stuff is all eyeball. So when I first started getting these bigger clients, the banks, the residential, the post office, stuff like that, I was saying, hey, let me plow it a couple times. The first couple storms, let me do it, and then I'll give you a better price. And so I'm going to give you this rough price right now, and then let me do it a couple times, see what the difficulties are, see what it will actually take for time, materials, whatever. And then I'll get back to you and get you a final adjusted price. I stopped doing that because I was finding that my prices were close enough. My initial estimates were close enough that I didn't have to change them once I, plowed that a couple times and got a better idea. And so I don't have a great answer for you. The majority of my pricing and bidding is just relation to where my next client is, if it's close to a route, how much time it'll take me or my guy to plow this, the difficulty of it.
If you have a driveway that's going to take you, what's an average driveway take you? 10 minutes?
Maybe 10 minutes.
Okay, so what's that average driveway going to cost?
$60, $70. And I think I calculated it at one time. It takes guys normally 4 to 5 hours to complete their route. And my goal for that is for them to bring in $2,500 per guy, right? And so if I have 5 heads out there, 2,500 divided by 4 hours, and so that would be my hourly. Obviously, some routes and some storms are a lot bigger. Biggest truck route, that brings in, depending on the storm size, but anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 per event.
Your biggest truck route, $4 to $10,000.
Yeah.
And why does it differ in price? Is it because of?
And so this is something I didn't mention with the quoting and stuff. There's something in my contract that states, initially getting into this, obviously I didn't want to price the same for 2 inches versus 12 inches. And I struggled a while to try to figure out a system that would be, number one, easy for the customers to understand, easy for me to understand, and that made sense, right? Because you're not going to double price for the amount of snow. That's just way too much. And so what I did is I give a base price for, their driveway from 2 to 5 inches of snow. Anything over 5 inches, so from 6, 7, 8 inches, I give a 20% increase. And so if I'm clearing 6 inches of snow on $100 per push contract, then I'm billing them out at $120. And so on and so on and so on. And so if it snows, that 12-inch storm, then I'm billing them just, 60% of their initial base price. And so I'm billing them at $160. And so on some days of those big storms, I'm getting that 50% increase or that 60% increase of my $4,000, or I think it's $4,500.
So on that, like whenever you're starting, how do you calculate that? Is it total amount of snowfall within that storm?
Yes.
Like if it snowed 12 inches in a day, but you start, let's say it's like only 3 inches in at 4 a.m. and you're starting, right? Are you still billing for the?
No, that's super tricky. That's where kind of people, you really start to lose people. You'll get, there's a couple guys around here that are like almost zero tolerance. And so they'll cycle through, 3 or 4 times a storm. And the customers hate that. They're not going to pay you. They're not going to pay you to clean up multiple times, and get billed 4 times for one storm. And so this is a conversation for the client really, but it's just the trust and the integrity on my judgment. That's also in my contract. But essentially, if it starts snowing at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm not sending my guys out, at 6 o'clock to go clear. If it snows, if I see the forecast and it says, okay, it's going to snow all day today up until night, I'm going to say, okay, we're going to go out the next day. If it starts snowing at midnight the night before a storm, it snows for, 4 hours. Obviously, I'm going to send my guys out then. And then if it were to snow again throughout the day, then we would send the guys out the next day, if that makes sense. And so it's really just based on judgment. You don't want to screw your clients or your customers, and you really want to build a good relationship with them, with your trust, or with their trust in you. It's really hard to describe or explain. Really just based on, common sense, and don't screw the customer.
For sure. Absolutely. It's like, what would you do at your own property? Like if
Totally.
it's, yeah,
Exactly. There's definitely caveats to that. Like the banks, the post offices, we have a big theater in town and stuff like that. That's when they're like, hey, we need to keep this on a 2-inch, route, all the clearance in the world, just make it look great, clear as snow at all times. A lot of commercial places are like that.
So do you have one route that's completely dedicated to commercial?
I don't. I like to split it up because I like to do commercial and then elderly first. That's kind of my first goal when plowing. And so if I had one truck dedicated to just commercial, I would probably get done with the last job at noon, which is just too late for a lot of these commercial businesses that open 8-9 o'clock. And so I try to stagger it up to where everyone gets 3 or 4 commercials in the mornings. And then they go on and do the residential route or the sidewalk. They just keep going.
Got it. How do you keep track of all this stuff?
Ooh, it's kind of a nightmare. I have spreadsheets. It's kind of a system, and I've always said this, but I really want an app that I can use to benefit for exactly what I'm doing. And this is another thing I saw on Facebook. Somebody was talking about apps, what app to use, what's the best snow removal app, and one guy in the comments, he was like, "Look, you're not going to find a snow removal app that's going to work because it's not based exactly on what you're doing." He was also, an app creator or something digital, similar. And I always thought that I think building an app exactly the way that I want it would benefit me so much that it would be worth tens of thousands of dollars just to get this done. And so that's something that I've thought about and, kind of twisted my thumbs over is getting someone to build the perfect app to where it would hold timesheets for the guys. It would be able to upload pictures, exactly what needs to be done, photos of the property, kind of a layout of exactly what needs to be done in each property. And then I can split it up into, these 6 lists. It's where I go, okay, here, man, let me tag you on this one. This is going to be your route for the day. It'll automatically populate where they need to go next, which I think would be huge.
Have you tried Jobber for snow?
I have not.
It'd be worth looking into. That's the one I'm going to start with this year as we build our routes. But it offers timesheets. It offers, like right now for all of our estimating, when we go bid a fire mitigation or a land clearing or a driveway job, Josiah, our estimator, goes out there and adds pictures to every single job. And then our field supervisor basically takes that information when they get to the job and reviews all the notes, and then they walk the property together. So all those features exist inside Jobber. I don't know if they have a route planner.
Right.
I do know that there's a software like whenever I was helping with a pool service business, there was a software called Skimmer that basically it would optimize the route. Like you'd plug in all the properties and it would just like use AI or something to GPS optimize.
Cool.
And I think that could be cool for snowplow. I'm not sure if that's, so if anybody's listening to this episode from Jobber, that would definitely be a feature to look into for the snow side. Yeah, I'd encourage you to look into Jobber and let me know how it goes this year. I'm going to use it. I'll give you feedback as well.
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay. What else would you be looking for?
I think the biggest thing is just organizing time, date, and a picture, as well as the route. I already talked about that. But those would be the biggest. I don't care what else they offer. That would be life-saving as far as the amount of work. Working on spreadsheets is nice. And I've developed a quick enough system to where it works now. But in the future, if we keep growing the way that we are now, it definitely needs to change. Yeah. It's a slow process.
What are your plans for growth with the snow business?
I want to get better clients is really the goal. The amount of small jobs that we have is great. I'm super thankful for that. But I think that the high dollar, commercial, bigger jobs is kind of really where the bread and butter at is. You're not answering your call or your phone 40 times a day during a storm. They can count on you. They pay you. Residential, there's good money, and I love helping people out. But I think that the commercial and the bigger clients is really what we want to target.
I think I have a guess at this, but like, why are customers calling you 40 times a day?
It beats me. They kind of walk in circles. They go, okay, well, hey, you said you were going to be here by 8. You said, hey, could you add this onto it last minute? Hey, could you do this? I have family in town. It's Christmas. Will you please come over? I have 15 people staying at my house, which is fine. I understand, but it just becomes overwhelming very, very quick when you have that many people that have your phone number and count on you for snow removal. So it's tough.
Definitely. So what does a commercial client look like?
More legality, more deeper looks into, the contract. They want to, they really want to cover themselves, as do I. They'll request more changes to the contract and stuff like that. But once that piece of paper is signed, there is minimal communication between you and the manager or maintenance director or whoever else it is. That it makes it a lot easier to kind of swallow.
And how are those contracts designed? Like, is it a 1-inch trigger, 2-inch trigger?
Yeah, it really depends. Because it snows pretty frequent up here, with a lot of dustings, I do a 2-inch trigger. With that being said, we have 2 clients right now that do almost zero tolerance with 1-inch triggers, and so it super depends. And I like to fit my model around kind of everybody, and so it's not like, okay, well, you can't hire us because I'm not going to change the way I do things. I would rather make our company move a little bit and become more fluid in order to make those customers happy, or in order for it to work.
Do you do per push contracts or seasonal contracts with your commercial?
Both. But a lot of those people, like I said, are switching to the seasonal because it's a lot easier on everybody, and they know exactly how much that year's snow removal is going to be.
And the reason you can confidently do that is because you have several years worth of data to go off of, correct?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, there is no simple solution to bidding. Once you start getting into the massive commercial properties, footage, the Walmarts, the FedExes, I had FedEx call me yesterday, and that one's a little more difficult, trying to figure out exactly how much time it would cost. Or another thing is showing the customers why the price is where it's at, because a lot of people, they'll come to me now and say, okay, well, will you show me your thinking behind this? And like, well, I've seen it. I've been doing this for 4 years. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. But they like laying it down. If I charge X amount per square foot, they would rather see that and understand the reasoning behind it, rather than just me saying it's going to cost this because I said so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does an average seasonal commercial contract look like? Like just a range?
As far as pricing?
Yeah, total price for a 6-month contract.
$3,000-$4,000 a month. And then we have some that are bigger clients that are around 20, mid-20s.
20,000 for the total year, or total 20,000 per month?
Per year.
Per year for a 6-month contract.
Yep.
Okay. So anywhere from 3 or 4 to 25.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely ranges a lot. We also don't have huge commercial where I'm at. I wish we did. Well, no, I don't. But we don't have these huge, shipping centers or anything else that I could bill more with. It's mainly all, smaller commercial.
So what does a total revenue year look like for a 6-month period in the snow business?
So for 6 months, obviously it's been growing over the years. But I think last year, I looked at my books last week, and I think we did close to 140 accounting with everything. Yeah. Total.
Cool. And you've got 5 trucks, and then you have does each guy have truck accounts and shovel accounts?
I had a guy last year. He said, Sam, I'll plow for you. I'll be there every storm, but I'm not getting out of the truck. And at first I was like, you got to get out of the truck. You got to shovel. But then I was like, all right, I'll switch things around. As long like you're happy and you show up every single time, you won't have to shovel at all. And I was okay with that. And since then, I kind of built an ATV or a tractor route that takes over the majority of the small shoveling jobs, and the trucks mainly stick to driveways, some light shoveling, and then one of the truck routes has 0. You do not have to get out of the truck.
Got it. Understood. So for somebody who's getting into the snowplow business, what advice would you give them?
Just start it. Just do it. There's a lot of these guys that'll watch YouTube until they die, and I'm one of them. But the difference between if you've never started a business to where you have is somebody started, right? You just got to put your foot in the door, start buying things, start making phone calls, start answering your phone, and just do it.
You have all your vehicles paid off at this point?
Yes, except for one. But that's a 23 Platinum 350.
That's the one you drive?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Love it. So what, this is year 4?
Ish, yeah. 4 taking it seriously, yeah.
And you've got 5 trucks, 5 plows paid off.
Yep. 5 trucks, 5 plows, a holder tractor. We have 2 ATVs, and a small sidewalk tractor. This year I'm going to be buying a mini skid.
Have you looked into those tool cats from Bobcat?
Is it like the I-23s?
No, it's like the UTV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. But they're starting at like something ridiculous, like 60 or 80K, right?
I think so, yeah. I didn't know if used ones on the used market were worth looking at or not. One of my friends over in Steamboat is always like, man, like I feel like that could be the residential.
No, absolutely.
The residential snowplow machine.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm kind of toying with a lot of ideas, but I want to be able to use something for snow in the winter that I can have a plow or a blower on, and then I want to be able to switch it to a grapple during the summer to be able to load the chipper and everything else. Kind of run around with small loads or small projects.
Loader?
Smaller.
It's a mini loader?
Yeah, no, not loader, like a mini skid.
Oh, okay.
With a tiny bucket on it, something.
Okay.
Something small that I can use for both seasons.
Well, I want to transition to the summer side of the business here. We're going to take a short break. If you haven't signed up for the weekly newsletter yet, go to ownerops.com/newsletter. That's OWNROPS.com/newsletter. We summarize all of the learning lessons from the interviews with the guests on the podcast, and we distill those into short, actionable tips, tricks, tactics, and strategies that you can use to grow your own local service business. Sign up for the newsletter at ownerops.com. That's OWNROPS.com. All right, let's talk summer.
Cool.
So the way we met, you reached out. I think you asked me for just some tips on the land clearing business. The coolest thing is I remember sharing, like, I think we jumped on a call for like an hour, and I was like, hey, here's the business model. Here's how I thought about it. And then the next week you'd already purchased your skid.
Yep.
And mulcher, and you were off to the races. And then from there, you're like, what do I need to do for advertising? I'm like, here's what we're doing. Paid for ads, closed leads. Called me about, I don't know, it was 2 months ago or so, a month and a half ago. You're like, I'm going to Vegas. So obviously you started making enough money from it in the summer. So I'm just interested to hear, and I know our listeners will be as well. So Sam started another business called FireGuard, and he is doing land clearing and forestry for fire mitigation purposes over in the Telluride area. And take it away. Tell us how all that started.
Kind of a weird start. I think that the very first time I started thinking about it, one of my captains on the fire department, he goes, man, he says, you should start a right-of-way business for pipelines or power. Then he goes, you should start something like that, like a tree service. And I go, okay, that's like a really good idea. I think that would fit. And I looked into it, kept looking into it. I go, no, nobody really nobody really does that. Nobody, specifically just does, right away or anything like that. But I saw a lot of fire mitigation. And then from there, it kind of was set that I was going to start this business. Then I started reaching out to, a bunch of people trying to find a business model that I wanted to directly copy. I have another business, e-bike rentals. And I called somebody when I started that business. And I said, hey, man, I like what you're doing. I see that you're doing good. Can I pay you for an hour of your time, whatever it was? And we did exactly that. He sat down, he says, hey, this is a great business to get into, blah, blah, do like this, and you can copy my business. I go, great. That's awesome. I love everything you do. And so I called Austin, and I go, hey man, give me the lowdown. Like, is this something that's profitable? Is this something that's fun? Does it have a lot of growth potential and everything else? And you were ecstatic about it. And I could tell, that it was something that, number one, there's a need for, and something you love doing. And I think that was kind of the point where I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. With my background in the fire service too, I did wildland fire. We were on 24 fires in 2019, kind of across the country. And from the fire side, I knew exactly in my head, what needed to be done on these properties. I could give a good vision to the homeowners. I also knew that insurance rates around Telluride, people were getting dropped left and right. It was in the newspaper. It was kind of all over the place. And so I knew that there was a great source of clients. There was people needing our services in my area. And so I took it and ran.
So for people who don't know about the fire mitigation business, what machine do you buy? What services are you offering?
So in a perfect world, I would have Austin set up. I definitely need the track chipper, but as far as our equipment, we have a T770 skid with a masticator attachment, grapple, bucket, all the simpler attachments. We have a Bandit wood chipper. It's small. I think it's a 14-inch wood chipper, and kind of with those two tools, you can really kind of get pretty deep into the fire mitigation business. Obviously, there's 1,000 more things that you need to buy, purchase, running expenses, everything, chainsaws and stuff like that. But with those two things, I was able, to significantly, get my feet off the ground, start this business, show people kind of what it's all about. It's been a lot of fun doing this.
How did you get the first job?
So the very first job was a previous client, actually, for snow removal. My second and third job were neighbors. The majority of properties that I work at, I'll go right next door, knock on the door, leave my card, explain what we could do to their property. And that's worked great. That's worked amazing. That's got me, tens of thousands of dollars worth of jobs. Then it kind of went to a standstill. At the very beginning, I was doing all this work by myself, and it was exhausting. It was tough. It's the hardest I've worked in a long time, which is good. And it's exactly what I needed. I needed to be able to get into, the operator's seat, the operator's mindset, and be able to grind for a little bit before I was able to kind of hand it off to somebody else. After those couple of jobs, knocking on doors, it started to slow down. And that's when you reached out. I remember waking up at the firehouse. You go, hey, you should run ads. And that's exactly what we did. And that transformed everything. That gave us 30 great leads.
Nice.
That we were able to take and turn that into, something profitable. I've always been taught with marketing. My little brother's in business school. Essentially, you really can't push enough money towards marketing and advertising. It's the same thing with, I have a tourist-based business as well. And that's the same thing, dumping as much money as you can, you will be rewarded eventually. You might not see that up front, you might not see that instantly, but as time goes on, you're going to go, okay, well, this is working. I remember the very first lead that the marketing agency gave me. It was to a $25,000 job that we did in 4 days.
I like those numbers.
It paid for a whole year of marketing. Super happy with it.
And at that time, was it just you owner operating, or did you have a guy helping you?
No, at that time, I pulled one of my friends who's doing something very similar in Texas. And I went to Fire Academy with him. And I said, hey man, like you've came to visit, you love this place. I'll give you housing, and I'll pay you more. I don't like stealing employees, but I understand that his mindset is that he didn't like the company he was working for. He hated what he was doing for that guy, and he wanted to switch it up. And so I offered, and now he's on full time, which is awesome.
So from there, like what were some of the other, after you did the $25,000 job, like what were some of the other ones that you did this summer?
It was busy, busy. Kind of that $3,000 or $4,000, $6,000 jobs that we've knocked out in a day. And I was like, that man, like you can't get better than that. Like I understand you still have to transport. It's not going to be that big job that makes it or breaks you. It's something super simple. They're super happy with it. You're on site for 10 hours and then you're out of there. And we just got done with one of those. We're on another one. My equipment's broken down right now, but that's kind of the point where I'm like, okay, this is kind of where the bread and butter is. But there's also the bigger jobs that you can knock out really quick. We were on a job in Mountain Village, right outside of Telluride, and that's Oprah has a house there. Tom Cruise has a house there. This guy contacted me, didn't give me the time of day. He was like, give me a price. I'll sign it. Do it. Zero communication. I was like, oh, all right, man. You just sign this piece of paper. We'll knock it out. And so I gave him a bid of 22.5. was the bid. And my guy goes up there, he goes, man, this is going to take like 2 days. And I was like, no, just make it look perfect. Like it has to take longer than that. Like it absolutely has to. And we ended up popping tracks and, messing around for a while, of course. But that job was about 4 days. And so it works. 2 days ago, I got a call and from a housekeeper, kind of right above Mountain Village, the same super fancy subdivision. And I was working on this bid over the past couple of days. And I think this is going to be, a 6-figure job. And so something as easy as just answering the phone, going on a site visit, can turn into something huge. Because he has NDAs and I can't say anything, but it's a big job. It's a lot of work, but it's awesome.
You never know. You never know what's going to come. That's why we always talk about on the podcast. Man, if you just build a digital presence, if you do the basic blocking and tackling on Google My Business, SEO, if you combine that with doing the things that most people won't do, which is knocking on your neighbor's doors,
right,
or just dropping a business card off, or even a flyer at the 5 houses surrounding the property that you're on,
right,
like you're doing. It's like that stuff just leads to big stuff. And then whenever your phone rings, if you answer the phone every single time, you never know who's going to be on the other line.
100%. You don't know where that perfect job is going to come from. It's a super, sorry. It's a super weird experience.
It could be a 6-figure job on the other side.
Exactly. We were on a job, I think it's 3 hours away, and we get there and there's this dilapidated trailer and it looks like people are living in it. And I'm like, man, like, I don't even want to go on this property. Like, it's kind of intimidating. Like I need my, I need backup.
I know where you're going with that.
Right. And so I pass this trailer and this lady comes out and she looks rough. I go, hey, I'm looking for, Christian. And she goes, oh yeah, he's building up there. He's over there. So I drive through the gate, whatever. I pass 2 other trailers, in a little, shed, and people are living in all these. And I go, man, like where's this guy? And like, why would he want me, out here to take a look? Anyway, this guy's from the Virgin Islands. He created a massive company, with surfboards. And he goes, hey man, like I own this mountain. I need you to clear out a spot on top of this mountain. I want to put my house there.
Oh, I love it.
It was a crazy feeling that same day while I was looking for him. I don't know if you're familiar, but Eli Tomac, he's a professional supercross racer. I accidentally ran into him. Like it was a weird sequence of events that led to something, awesome. And that's one of those jobs that, we knocked out in 8 hours. He was happy with it and he wrote me a check and then we were out of there.
Oh, so you did work for Eli?
No, not Eli. I ran into him.
Okay.
I was on his property, but I didn't know. I didn't know I was on his property when him and his wife pulled up in a brand new Escalade. He wasn't too happy. But...
Who's the contractor on my property?
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
No, but it was cool.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you're getting plenty of work. I mean, I knew it from the day that we jumped on that hour-long call. I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna crush it.
No, it's been working. I'm super glad that I took that, that jump and that leap, because this is going to transform, something much more profitable and something that I would love to throw all of my attention at. Eventually I had a lot of stuff going on right now and I got a lot of, pans in the fire, but this is one of the things that I want to, fully pursue and give all my attention to. So it's been a lot of fun. You
think you'll ever have a year-round business down there?
I don't think it's possible unless you go into like construction. We get hammered with way too much snow that, outside business is really tough. With that being said, Union Pacific called me looking at getting 40 acres cleared out by Vail. And that would be something that we could work during, these spring and fall months, to get out of Ouray. It snowed here last night, but to get out of Ouray and keep working throughout the summer. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think that's why snow is such a necessity. And I did it flip-flop from you. Right. You started snow first and then jumped into this, right, and then vice versa. So I think it's all coming full circle here. I'm going to end up, I feel like this was a consulting call just on a podcast here for the snow earlier. So thanks for sharing
all that stuff. What are we missing as far as getting into the snow business? Is there anything you've learned over the last 4 years that you're like, hey, man, just be prepared for X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, absolutely. New equipment's great because you get that warranty and everything with that, and it's less likely to break. Snow plows are going to break. Everything will break. It will, 100%. So I like using trucks that, more reliable than others, but they're not in perfect condition. They have dents and dings. They are already abused. It's so hard on the drivetrain and the engines, the frames of these trucks. And so I think buying slightly used equipment is much more beneficial than brand new $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 trucks with a $20,000 snowplow. Yeah, you're cutting into a lot of your profits if you can't pay straight up cash for some of these snow removal things.
Any rules of thumb that you have on buying as far as like, hey, I will only buy if I can pay X amount cash, I will finance X amount?
No, so I didn't finance anything in the snow removal company. Nothing. It was all cash. It was all cash brought in through snow removal money, right? So now these are all assets that are at my disposal. I'm not worried about making payments. I can use the cash that they generate me, to keep upkeep or buy new equipment. There isn't something super specific that I would watch out for, besides keeping the trucks as short as you can.
Keep the trucks as short as you can. That's the main thing. All right. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for sharing and jumping on the podcast, Sam.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm excited to continue to stay in touch. How long are you going to go on the fire mitigation?
However long the weather kind of holds out. I'm hoping for another month-ish. That'd be nice. Our equipment's down right now, which really sucks, but we're still staying busy. And so I'm really hoping for another month or so.
I think we'll get it with the weather, how it's been.
Yep.
Cool. Well, listeners, thanks again for listening to another episode of the OWNR OPS Podcast. Once again, this is Sam Tyler with Tyler Snow Solutions and FireGuard out of the Telluride area in Colorado. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, we would sure appreciate a 5-star review if you are enjoying this type of content. If you've gained any sort of value from this and you're listening on YouTube, please leave it in the comments below. And then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that you'll get notified whenever we drop new episodes. We also have a weekly newsletter. So we just implemented a system to where we are leveraging AI to summarize all of the podcast into the high-level bullet points to take the actionable tips and insights and tactics that you can apply from these episodes and then apply them to your business. So go sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already. That's on ownerops.com/newsletter. That's OWNROPS.com/newsletter. Finally, if you haven't checked out landservicemarketers.com, that is the agency we talked about in this video that was bringing Sam his leads for land clearing, forestry, and fire mitigation work in the summer. I'm also personally running snowplow ads to fill our pipeline this year for our company Bear Claw, and that is a service that we're offering. So if you're a snow removal company, if you are an excavation or land clearing fire mitigation company, we can help you get more leads. So go check those out. Without further ado, let's wrap up this episode. Don't forget, work hard, do your best, never settle for less. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.